You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pace Radio Show. We are live here on the Pace Radio Network. I'm Al Graham, and joining me, there, I got it this way, right? Is Tamara Carter.
You switch things around. Oh, I mean, well, you change things around on the background. How are you doing, Al?
That's right. There we go. No. Yeah, and then I'm sitting in an odd spot today as well.
You are. That's because we've got a guest in studio today.
That's right, exactly. I'm just gonna move us to
there
we go. There we go. Now we're in the right spot. Yes, we have an in studio guest tonight. First time ever in video, anyways.
Right. And I think that's kind of neat that we can actually bring somebody that lives in your area, that's a patient that you know that's close enough that we can actually have them on in studio.
Yes, it is. It's it's a small community. It's not often that happens. So tonight I thought, hey, I'm going to reach out to a local friend of mine here who I just met personally tonight. As far as in person, we had discussed and talked things online, but we'd never gotten together. So I thought, hey, why not do it here on the Pace Radio Show and find out more about the local guy, let's say.
Right. That's
right.
I keep looking at my hair because, like I said, it's just so everybody knows, I'm a hella mess because I've been peeling potatoes and making pierogies all day, and that's where I'm leaving it. I'm not here to be pretty today.
How's the pierogi thing going?
Excellent. We've done really well. We're really pleased with what we've done. So we've got one family, two families actually, that have already been paid the money that they needed for their family to come over to.
Nice.
The first family will arrive on Saturday. So we have a mom and a 4-year-old boy and an 8-year-old boy that will be arriving on Saturday.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, and then we've met up with a couple, actually, they're nurses here in town that have their mom and their brother that are still in the Ukraine. They've been here for 7 years. They came over to Canada to become nurses, and they've just stayed. And now their parents, of course, are running for their lives. So we've taken them on too. So we've got two. One's in a nursing. She's a nursing student, and her sister is a nurse. So we've got two sisters that we've taken them on, and we're now working towards the goal to get the money that we need for their 6 people to bring over, because it's their mom, their dad, their 17-year-old brother, their sister, and her 2 kids. So, and the kids are 1 and 3. So that's another, and we're halfway there to our goal on that one already. And we have 200 dozen pierogi orders to fill.
Oh,
so we will,
excellent.
So we will exceed our, and then again, we're going to keep moving forward and try and reunite as many as we can. And we're trying to be realistic too, because Cranbrook's small, kind of like where you are too. Like, how much do we have to offer them? Are they going to be happy here? Are there going to be jobs for them here? Are we going to be able to sustain them here? So that's another conversation that we've been having. But again, that's another conversation for the larger group that I belong to.
Right, correct. It's all done in stages. I know Trent Hills, which is just sort of southwest of us. It's done something to do with pierogi sales, and they announced on Facebook that it's been a huge success as well. So small communities are banding together in order to sell pierogies and fund this.
Well, the nice thing about our pierogies is our pierogies are actually being made by Ukrainians that are actually like they don't speak Canadian without an accent. They've got you can tell that they are definitely from the Ukraine. And they're, like I said, Helena's been here, or actually it's Helena. I keep saying Helena, it's Helena, and I keep pronouncing wrong. They've only been in Canada for 7 years. And Lana's been here for 20, but they came over during the first bunch of BS in 2014. because this has been going on for a long time. Dunboz is something that's been going,
Mhm.
Hi, Deb. Deb subs. There's a Progi event happening in Halifax too. Debbie Stultz given. Nice to see you.
Oh, hi, Deb. How you doing?
So yeah, so I said we're really pleased with what we're doing, and like I said, as long as we can help people, that's all we care about. So we're just moving forward. Like I said, I've been pushing. I peeled 50 pounds of potatoes by myself today.
50 pounds of potatoes.
By myself. Before Kim showed up, I had 50 pounds already peeled. I was there at 1:30 this morning peeling potatoes. Yeah, and I got home at 20 after 5. So yeah,
How's your hands?
they're good. They're fine. I got a really good peeler. I got a KitchenAid peeler. It just goes like this, and it's just sharp. And I just,
All right.
it's
All
like
right.
no problem. Yeah. So we should probably we should probably get to our guest because
Yes, we should. And I'm so used to doing this and introducing our guests and bringing them into the show by adding them to the screen. But tonight I don't need to do that. So at this time, I introduce our guest, Adam Oda, to the Pace Radio Show, to the show program, and he's just going to sit right here beside me.
Yeah, isn't that neat?
Hey, welcome, man. How you doing?
Good. Yourself. Hello, Al. Hi, Tamara. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey,
Absolutely. Yeah. So since we got you here, we're going to ask you the first question is who you are and how'd you get into cannabis? Like what brought you into, when was your first experience with cannabis and why are you using it?
Okay. Well, my first experience was back when I was about 15 years old. I was away on May 2-4 weekend at Sabo Beach. For anybody that's in Ontario that knows that area. And we were partying and, just like normal kids do or whatever, somebody goes, here. And it was probably, I think, a biker, actually. He said he had a quarter pound and he was walking around with a big garbage bag full of weed. And Mike
sounds like on the beach in Jamaica.
Yeah, basically.
Right here in Canada.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said here, and I smoked some, and I'm like, it just kind of burned my throat a little bit, and that was it. But that was my first experience with it.
There you go. Out for the May 2-4 weekend with a bunch of friends. Even at that age, like you can still get away from mom and dad. Other people that you're out with. And,
now, was it something that you continued with, or you tried it once and then, as an adult, tried it again? What brought you back to cannabis? Was it medicine wise, or was it like, did you continue smoking weed since, or cannabis?
Yeah, basically it was a continuation of recreational use, but it wasn't, I didn't smoke it a lot until about 2005, 06, something like that.
05, 06, so 15 years ago.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. So for about a 10-year period there, you probably were sort of maybe drifting in and out of it. You weren't against it, but it wasn't something that.
Correct.
Yeah. You didn't always have it. It sounds like sort of like the way it started, a social thing with some friends.
Yeah. That's exactly how it started for me.
Yeah. And that's how it started with me as well. Social things, young age, and then it became a social thing, drifting in and out of it, and then it becomes a medical thing.
Right, it did. Yeah.
Right. What brought you into medical?
So I was diagnosed with MS 7 years ago, and basically street signs I could hardly see. So I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then I had walking pneumonia. Or sorry, not walking pneumonia, just pneumonia. And I remember driving home and I couldn't read street signs. And then my face started going numb. We're going to a trade show in Las Vegas, and my whole face went numb and my right side went numb.
It sounds like a stroke.
That's what I thought I was having. Right? I was worried about a stroke. Yeah. So I went to the doctors, and so many doctors, they couldn't figure out what was going on. I heard Bell's palsy. I heard it could be this, that. It's something that'll go away. This is a fluke.
Yeah.
The doctor said. I was in and out of the ERs and stuff like that because going to Vegas, I wanted to make sure I didn't have a stroke in there, and who knows what airplane pressures can do.
Makes sense. And especially going to a foreign land.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to.
Especially the States and how the cost would be.
The cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That would be huge.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Especially in Vegas, because an ambulance ride in Vegas is $2,200 US. Ask me, my daughter did. Yeah.
oh, wow.
So an ambulance ride, $2,200 US. So
Wow.
yeah,
Holy crap.
Yeah,
that's
that would
just
be
an
the
ambulance
one.
ride. Yeah,
Oh,
but anyway, so yeah, how long did it take to get a diagnosis then?
Oh, probably about 6 months.
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, to get a proper diagnosis. And my doctor never really went, you've got MS or anything like that. He just kind of like scurried around it,
Yeah.
saying, oh, it might be this, might be that. And I've never got 100%, you've got MS and this is what it is. Even though I go to the MS clinic, I talk to other doctors and stuff like that.
Have they not given you an MRI? Have you not had an MRI done?
Oh, I've had many of them done.
Oh, I was going to say, like, that's with my
Yeah.
arthritis. That was one of the first things my doctor did was to try and rule out, was give me an MRI to rule out MS, because I was having like numb toes and, and a lot of pain and stuff and really stiff. And the doctors couldn't figure out for a while what was going on with me either. So I got an MRI done to rule out MS. That was the first thing. I have rheumatoid arthritis, which can present fairly similar to MS at some points, right?
Okay.
Because it's not autoimmune, the same as MS too.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I talked to one patient who went in to check for MS, and I'm sure it was the spine. They did an X-ray.
Yeah, I've had the MRIs all the way from the brain to basically the small of your back, your spine.
it's usually like lesions on the brain that will show MS too, I think, if I remember.
Yes.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah.
It is lesions on the brain that they see.
Yeah, that's why they do an MRI on your head to, on your brain kind of thing,
Right.
to rule that out. So, and they've done that and they still cannot give you a definite diagnosis.
No, I've never had 100%. Like I've never had a doctor say, "Welcome to the MS club" type thing.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
Well, they don't ever do that. They always say it may present as, and that's to cover their asses. And every doctor does that with every diagnosis. Even with my colitis, it presents as lymphatic colitis. It presents as rheumatoid arthritis. It's never definite, right?
Okay.
Like it's always, that's how they kind of word it. It's always
And
presents as.
did they connect you, such as to the MS? Or an organization?
Yes. Yeah.
That along that line. I'm
Yes.
assuming medications would be along the same. Would be something for somebody with MS.
Yeah.
So
Debbie's saying she was welcomed. Welcome to the MS Club, Deb, because Debbie also has MS too. She's one of the guests that's watching. Excuse me, and she just put, "Wow, I was welcomed." So
yeah.
But to be fair, I think Deb was first diagnosed like when she was 40. If I remember correctly, she'd have to tell you the story herself because it's her story to tell. But but she's a really good friend of mine too, so I know she uses the MS Club. She doesn't use any pharmaceuticals at all. She has never. She hasn't got a good reaction. Her body does not react well to any medication, so she just strictly uses cannabis. Like that's it. Yeah, she
whatever you can do. If I could get away with not taking any of the hardcore medications and stuff like that, I wouldn't. I don't believe in them. I very rarely take Tylenol and stuff like that.
And Deb's the same way. She's like, just like, unless she has to. But so
Deb said she was 40.
Yeah.
And you were almost 40.
Yeah. I was in my late 30s.
Yeah.
When I was diagnosed.
And she, as you can see here, she's talking about optic neuritis was one of her
neuritis. Yeah,
was one of her first symptoms.
That was the same thing as with me. It's the street signs.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you and Deb should get together sometime and have a talk.
Deb's in Nova Scotia. She's actually the chair of Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, and they're actually a non-for-profit, or actually one of the very few groups in Canada for cannabis that have a non-for-profit number, and they're doing a Harvest Fest again this year, which is we have we have events in our community usually without COVID, and they're gonna go for it again this year. So we'll be having Deb as a guest here soon.
Way to go, Debs!
You want to go to Nova Scotia?
Yeah.
You know what? I really would like to go. To be fair, I've been trying to get there.
It'd be nice.
for a long time, right? And then COVID,
Yeah.
2 years without it. And then I had my own Kootenai cannabis cup. So it kind of ran where I couldn't get Deb here. I couldn't go there because we were both planning cups at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Now, as far as with the MS end of things and the cannabis, was it something like you said you didn't want to, like, as far as the bigger drugs or and stuff?
Yeah, I
you
started
didn't
off
want to do them
on a drug that you basically stab in your leg type thing, or muscular. It was an intermuscular injection.
So you stick it in your leg.
Yeah, basically. And then I moved up
Nice.
from that to an actual drip infusion.
Okay.
And what really scared me is the lady was mixing up the drugs to give me the IV, and she was in a full hazmat suit. And I'm like, why are you in a hazmat suit? And she goes,
seriously, the stuff that I take too is in pill form, but I should be taking an injection. It does come in. It's methotrexate. It's like Remicade too. Same thing. It's like it's like radiation. Like if my pills go anywhere are used for optomic pregnancies and all. So you got to keep that stuff. Like I don't doubt it. Yeah,
I went through the same thing. First time I had it, the nurse gave it to me. She came out dressed in gear like you did.
Yeah.
So continue. I know. I asked the same questions.
Yeah.
No. So continue your story.
So yeah, she was in full hazmat suit, and I said to her, "I go, why are you in a hazmat suit?" And she goes, "Well, I don't want it to drip on me." I'm like, "You don't want it to spill on you,
but you're gonna jam it into me
to go directly into my veins."
I wonder if we had the same nurse.
It scared me. And then after that, I went to a pill.
Now, did you have to do the injections yourself at any point?
Just the intermuscular ones.
Okay. So,
and I've got a big.
So would that be like with an EpiPen style thing?
Exactly.
So
it was a one shot done.
Okay, so it wasn't with a 1.5 millimeter,
no,
centimeter long needle that you had to. Yeah. See, Tamara, you talked about the methotrexate. You had the pill form. I had to do the injections for 3 years.
Oh, they want me to do that. They do.
Oh.
Because of my colitis, that's the first thing she said is I should be doing by injection because of my colitis. Mm-hmm. But I don't do needles. Like I'm just like, I mean, I do, like I went and, jabbed myself for the COVID, whatever. But when it comes to have to give myself an injection once a week, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I just can't. So I'd rather just stick with the pills. They don't seem to bother me. Like my colitis doesn't seem in fact, my colitis seems better with the methotrexate, to be fair. It doesn't seem to be bothering me. So I'm just leaving it at that. But they wanted to put me on an IV drip right off the hop. And I went, no.
Yeah, I don't take methotrexate anymore.
Yeah, I just said no. I'm not doing it. Yeah. And she wasn't happy with me, but no.
So the drugs, like you said, so are you off of the pharmaceutical drugs now, or are you still taking?
I was on a drug tablet to stop the relapsing remitting MS. And you take it, it was weird. You took it for like 2 weeks for 6 months, or 2 weeks for 6 months. And then on the next 6 months period, it was another 2 weeks. And then the next year it was the same thing. So what's that, 4 weeks total or 8 weeks total, something like that. And then I was just under observation. And that's the point I'm in right now. It's just under observation.
Yeah. So basically, you've done your treatment, and now you're just done until something happens.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, they just keeps me under.
What are they saying? It's a remission, or is this supposed to be is it is that?
I don't know if you can use the word remission.
Right.
You're still getting I guess you're still getting the effects of the MS as far as, or your effects from the MS?
My relapse. This because I have the relapse remitting type of MS. I haven't had any relapse in a long time.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, probably at least 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Now you mentioned to me something about hugging.
Yes. So that's where cannabis came into play with the MS. So at one point, this is about a year after I was diagnosed, and what it is it's called the MS hugs. Debbie might know. Is Debbie?
Debbie, yeah, okay. Debbie. If Debbie knows,
she might know
let
about
us know.
It's basically it's all the muscles between your ribs, and I had no idea you had muscles between your ribs spasming. And what it feels like is Andre the Giant giving you a bear hug with all his might, so you can barely breathe almost, right? And it's just tightening and tightening, tightening, and I couldn't sleep for 3 days. And somebody said, "Why don't you try smoking a joint?" I'm like, okay, light bulb went off in my head. Sounds like that night I was able to sleep. It didn't take away all the pain, but it made me not care about the pain as much.
Right.
It dulls it down. You know,
Yeah.
so many people say that.
It's a diversion, right? It just diverts. It doesn't really mask anything. Like it's not like an opioid that masks the nerve ending, but it does. It diverts. So you're not thinking, you're not concentrating on that pain, right?
Right. And yeah, it dulls it. Yeah, that's the best way to explain it.
And just so you know, Debbie does understand what you mean.
Okay.
She says, yes, I do.
Yeah.
So, because like when you mentioned that to me, I thought, I'd never heard anybody say anything about a hugging thing. And it makes it hard to breathe. Like, does it feel like your ribs are crushing?
It honestly feels like Andre the Giant, the wrestler, the big 7-foot guy. Giant bear hug.
And then you can't breathe, and like it takes all your breath away.
No, you can still breathe. I was able to breathe, but it made it a little bit harder. Yeah.
Would it be like,
or it felt like it was harder at least.
You get a cramp in your foot, or you get a cramp in your leg. This is it sounds like a whole torso type thing.
Yeah.
It's just.
And I went to my doctor and I said, "This is happening." This was day number 2. Number 1, I didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I went to him and he gave me some Lyrica. He actually had samples and stuff like that. He goes, "Take this. It's for like diabetes and neurological problems."
Yeah, neurological problems, yeah.
And it didn't help at all. I couldn't sleep. So the next day, I had some marijuana and some cannabis, and it was right good. I'm like, this is a wonder drug.
Well, that's a lot of people will say that. They'll just it just only you can see. We've watched it. We've watched people with Parkinson's shaking and one puff, and they're like, it's been witnessed. Testimonies there. Why the medical profession doesn't see it is beyond me.
Right.
Yeah.
My younger brother made some oil in the last couple of years, and it's just amazing. If you got like a sore shoulder or a sore knee or something like that, just rub a little bit of cannabis oil on it. Almost instantly.
Yeah, and like you said, in your situation, even though you had used it in your younger days, and it was only periodically, when it became your first opportunity to use it medicinally, like you noticed, the difference right away, and here you are as a cream, noticing the difference right away in others as well. The same thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It works effectively for so many people. Again, there's, the ones that say doesn't do anything for them, but that's like, people are allergic to penicillin too. And some people say they're allergic to cannabis, which is absolutely possible too.
Yeah, well,
so again, we're here to educate and not,
You'd be in the same boat as myself or anybody else with Crohn's, colitis and stuff. Anti-inflammatories, you can't take them. So when you walk down the aspirin aisle and in your drugstore, there's a lot of stuff in there that we can't even touch.
No, Advil's a big no. I mean,
ibuprofen. Yeah. No, I don't know whether is that any problems when it comes to MS.
Ibuprofen and
no. Okay.
The only rule that I ever had was they wanted to know about any medications that were not over the counter.
Right.
It's nothing you can pop off the shelf. They didn't care about that. But any prescriptions, they wanted to know about it.
Right.
Yeah. They wanted to make sure it didn't counteract with, whatever was on.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd write cannabis in there.
I did actually
for quite a while until I got my license. I still write it in there. Actually, I wrote it in there for paperwork I'm handing in tomorrow.
Yeah. I always do too, because the simple fact, I've got these pharmaceuticals that I'm taking now. And to be fair, I tried everything. I had a friend of mine that was putting together oil, turmeric, you name it, slopping it all together, topical, this, that, whatever. But when it's an autoimmune, it's kind of like diabetes. there's some things you just have to tap on, and this seems to be one of those things. I just can't go without. I was on a cane, curled up in my bed. So we don't want to also like, that's, even though we know some people have to take pharmaceuticals too. Cannabis just doesn't do everything, right?
Oh yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
I was off pharmaceuticals for 2 years, and then I ended up back in the hospital again.
Yeah.
So I'm back on them.
To be
like
fair,
yourself, like,
some people think that if you take pharmaceuticals, you're a drug addict. And the fact that we're taking life-saving drugs, we're not taking drugs that are making us high or doing anything bad. We're doing, it's like telling a diabetic, don't take your insulin because you're a drug addict. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's something
you're sure maybe I'm having to take an intravenous drug that I have to go into a clinic to be administered to me.
Yeah.
Like, because of cannabis, I haven't had to have an opiate prescription.
Right.
Other than when I've been hospitalized.
Right.
Sure, I'm still on this IV drug. It's not an addictive drug.
No.
But opiate, not having to do the opiates, that's
a big one.
That's a big one right there.
That's a big one right there. Right there. And and I am prescribed opiates, but I take them very, very rarely. But if I've got a flare and I've tried like smoking 20 grams of cannabis and I've already eaten 10 candy and I still can't move, I'm gonna tap, because you have to have some form of quality of life, and you have to be able to sleep. And that's where I get it. It's where the point where I can't sleep and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, I'm dying. Like I have to be in that position to do that, which isn't really anymore. But again, like I said, there's so many different, even with cannabis, like so many people use it for so many different reasons. And we want to take the stigma off our own, we expect people to take the stigma off our community and completely, when we can't even take the stigma off ourselves. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm just, you know what I mean? We have to look in the mirror and make sure that we're taking the stigma off our own community before we start expecting other people to do it for us. So we have to really start standing up and being respectful of the fact that we are cannabis users, but some people might not see that as a great thing, but some people think it's a great thing. And education is, right?
Yeah,
right. And then with legalization, we're getting more and more people coming forward wanting to be educated. And I think as much as we don't like the legal market, some of us do, but to be honest, it's bringing more people out to get the access, right?
Yeah.
And ask questions and take that stigma off. They're not scared. The fears.
It's opened the conversation up.
Right.
For people to talk, and families to talk, and people not to be so concerned about bringing the cannabis issue up. Well, you as a patient, like, you did it when you're younger and all that stuff, and you mentioned you got kids. When you started using it medicinally, I don't know how old your kids were. I know like mine, when I started using it medicinally, my kids were teenagers, but still there were still some concerns.
Yeah.
Like, was there any concerns that, like, I kept my cannabis use away from my kids?
I did until he was a lot older.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
I didn't, and I've never hidden it from Tay when he's 12. And I had the RCMP at my house looking at me with a social worker, and I handed them my Health Canada paperwork, and I said, "See you later," and they did.
So, like, did you have any problems talking to them and telling them that I'm going to be using cannabis medicinally?
No, when he got older,
no problems. No. Yeah.
Okay. How old is he now?
He's 19 now, so he's actually.
Well, he would have been 12, right?
Well, back then, yeah.
That's what I mean. Like when you first told them, because what's Daddy doing? Like, you smoke cigarettes, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't as if you didn't smoke cigarettes and all of a sudden you were smoking.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So as far as
he was easy enough.
Those ones smell different, Dad.
But you know what?
I can breathe with those.
I remember the one point in time, and this was before I started using it medically. Wife and I decided to smoke one night, so we rolled up a joint, and my son was 2 floors above us, and I was in the basement, and I was just rolling at the time, and he's like, "It smells like skunk in here."
All right. You know what? Sometimes I have to wonder if it's actually a skunk or my neighbors. Because now that, like I said, now that the stigma has been kind of slowly coming off, people are more open about it. People
Yeah,
are smoking it more openly and not hiding in their closets. So you have to, wonder, oh, that still smells pretty good. That can't be a skunk. Right?
Exactly. Well, I see it's the bottom of the hour. It's break time.
All right. I've got 2 minutes to run. Take care of these. Get rid of this dog off my lap.
Oh, look at that. There you go.
Yeah,
Who
they
you
run
got
the
out
gate.
there today?
This is Piper.
Piper.
This is Piper. Yeah, this is Piper.
Hi, Piper.
Hi, Piper. This is the littlest one in the house. She's not a puppy. Like, she's almost two and a half now, I guess.
She's a cutie.
Yeah, they're all cute. But they're all a lot of work too.
Yep. We all have dogs. Adam's got
I got 2 dogs.
2 dogs.
Yeah.
I got 9 now. I had 10.
That's a lot of dog food.
You know what?
Look at the size of the dog. How much you gonna eat?
Yeah, but they eat about the same amount as 3 big dogs. So you have that many little ones. They all add up to about 3 big dogs for food.
Yeah, I've got 1 big one and 1 small one.
Yeah. But no, I have lots of dogs.
All right, off to break we go. When we return, Tamara and I will continue our discussion with our guest, Adam Doda. This is the Pace Radio Show, and we are live here on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook and YouTube pages. Plus, we're podcasted afterwards at paceradio.net.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. Open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats. And look of that supply of rolling papers. Plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have. As well as, for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hello and welcome back. You're watching the Pace Radio Show. We are live here on the Pace Radio Network's YouTube channel, as well as on our Facebook pages. Plus, if you miss it, don't forget, as I always remind people, paceradio.net has the podcast. Tonight in the program, we're joined by our guest, Adam Doda, as well as you can see, Tamara is with us. And
I have to say, I love that commercial, that last commercial that we have. I love that. That's my favorite.
You like that, eh? The one on the healing house, home places for the reserves. Yes,
absolutely. I just think that's fabulous. But yes, we have an in-house guest tonight. in studio guest.
In studio, yes, that's right. We used to have them occasionally when I was doing the show from Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. Mm-hmm. At that time, it was Canada Days, and occasionally I would have somebody come in there and we'd sit there. But it wasn't. It was in person between us, but it was just audio, so it's different sitting there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is good. Good. It works.
It's a new swing to the show, so I guess now we have to figure out. I guess I better find a guest for an in studio here, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
Somebody from BC, because like I said, I'm in Cranbrook, BC, right? So the difference between Ontario and British Columbia, we're all paid, but there's lots of patients here. To be honest,
just invite one of those deer that cross through your property.
I don't want that. I don't want one of them in my living room. You can't grow cannabis in my backyard because the buggers would eat them all.
Now, before the break, we're talking about your medicinal use of cannabis with your MS. When you started, you got the MS 7 years ago. Now, and I'm assuming it's about the time you started using it medicinally. Now, have you been, having, as far as supply wise, I'm not going to ask you who your dealer is or anything like that. Supply wise. Some people go to the licensed producers. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Some people go compassion centers. Some people grow for their own.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been buying from licensed producers. When the doctors have told me go to, like Hexo and Spectrum and stuff like that. Yeah. So I was buying from there, and then I started growing it 2 years ago. Oh yeah, it's been 2 seasons. Sorry for if I.
Now, did you find? Now, what made you switch? Just like some people, some people go to the licensed producers because they don't have a spot to grow, or they don't have the ability. Maybe not the knowledge.
Yeah, mine was ticking all those boxes basically. We moved out here, so we got a bigger chunk of land, so I was able to have a spot designated to growing it now.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. That way you can look after your own meds.
Yes.
And then learn. Like you said, 2 years. So yes. It's a learning process. Like I've been doing it for 15 years, and I'm still growing. I'm still learning. Yeah. Right? And I think you probably are too, Tamara.
Well, I've been growing since 1998. To be that's when I first started learning how to grow. And I'm always learning something because the plants are always different. And because we've gotten so much hybrid rather than just straight anymore, they seem to be prone to a lot of PM. They seem to be a lot of more problems and problematic things that go along with growing now than before. And I'm starting to wonder if that's not because there's so much crossbreeding going on in the genetics.
Maybe we can genetics
stuff. Well, and like I said, because powdery mildew.
Powdery mildew, that's the white powder on the leaves.
Right.
Late. Growing outside, it usually turns up late in your harvest before you start harvesting.
Yeah. But I grow indoor, and that's what I'm finding. And I not this last 2 that I grew, but the time before that, I had powdery mildew. I did everything I possibly could to get rid of it, and there was no way. And I'm not at the coast, so it's not like we've got a high humidity level here in Cranbrook. We don't. It's really dry here, but it just seems to be in the Kush strain that I had, and it didn't matter what you did with it. There was just no way getting out of it. So then I started kind of looking into it, and I'm hearing that it can be genetically passed on.
Yeah,
is that something that spreads from plant to plant as they're growing?
Yeah.
So some people I've seen some stuff that goes both ways, but it can transfer. It can get into the plant itself.
Okay.
So it ends up within the cells.
Right.
And then it keeps reproducing. So once the infection of the basically like a virus, mildew, whatever, it's mold, gets into the genetic molecule of the plant, it'll reproduce in that seed. Even and because you'd be pulling a clone off of a plant that's already got it, so of course it's going to transfer, right? But bud rot's also similar, right? And that's another thing that grows from the inside of the bud out, and it's fairly similar and it shows up late in like almost near harvest too. And a lot of these hybrids are becoming more and more prone to bud rot and powdery mildew.
a lot of crossbreeding going on.
Well, nothing's pure anymore.
Yeah.
Nothing really.
Now so now that you're growing your own, you can be more selective to what you want to grow.
Yes.
So I know that a lot of people out there will say, well, there's no indicas and sativas out there now. They're just all cannabis. And yeah, it is all just cannabis, and there's all, different things that meets for certain criteria. But do you lean towards like an indica strain or a sativa strain, or did you just grow something because you knew of the name, or did you find something that was a super benefit? So
I find the indica strains work really well for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
some of the all of the above, basically.
Yeah.
It's I love it.
I agree. I'm more of an indica as well.
Yeah, I have to stay away from those ones that are on the sativa end of things, the more uplifting.
Yes.
I require more of the sedative.
Yeah, I think I've had one or two strains, and this was a purchase where after you have it, you just can't sleep. Like it almost wires you to keep you up.
Yeah. See, those ones old school would label them sativas because you're full of energy, you can't sleep.
Yeah.
And you're wide awake, and you probably, like, I know with myself, did you find wasn't just sleep but other things as well? Like for me, it didn't help me with the pain, but I talked to other patients and they find a benefit with sativas and pain.
When I first started, I really liked the one of the companies had a 1-to-1 drop where it was whatever, like 7% CBD and 7%,
like a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah. And I really like that.
Yes,
that did work very well for me.
Good. And so that'd be something that you would try to, like, if you got that from a licensed producer, you obviously would want to try to replicate that in your own personal.
Yeah, I think that one's a little more difficult for me to
correct. So have you looked for?
Because I can't find like a seed or anything like that, or
well, there's there are seed suppliers out there,
right?
So, like, is there any places where is there any sativas that you've looked into that would be beneficial to you? I see that Deb on the screen here. Deb says that she loves sativas for MS brain fog.
Okay.
So I like you say, like the indica end of things, but
yeah,
if you found that one from licensed producer was a benefit, did you look into maybe trying to find a replica, maybe the same strain name or something? The names are probably changed too with the licensed producers, some of them, but something that replicates it. As far as
no, I haven't looked that far. I haven't found that
sativa strain that would be like that. I didn't mind when it's called Juicy Fruit. Do you remember that one?
Oh, okay.
Juicy
I've
Fruit.
had that before.
Hey, it's a great strain. I loved it. It tastes great. It grows nice. But I'll tell you, man, it gave me the munchies so bad. I had stopped growing it. It was a risk because I was worried about eating too much. Right? Because
that's a good sativa, because sativa is an appetite stimulant too, right? So if you're really like, that's one of the things they say too, like if you're anorexic or you have problems eating, sativa is the way to go. But the juicy fruit.
I completely agree.
It's definitely great for any patients that are on like chemo or something like that, because then I know my aunt had breast cancer and it stimulated her to eat where she couldn't eat and sleep and she couldn't sleep. So it was like, again, a wonder drug.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm not going to get into the family, but obviously others.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Because I sometimes it takes, I don't know the situation, but sometimes it takes one person that opens the eyes to others.
Yeah.
And that's how medical patients have helped change things around, because they talk to others, share their stories,
right?
And people who were against it see those benefits and go, wow, like,
Well,
what the fuck?
The
Like,
people that were completely against cannabis have totally changed their minds because they see what the benefits medically it can do. And I
yeah,
think it's just taken them looking at a child having a seizure and getting a few drops of CBD with some THC and watching that child go from being in a grand mal seizure to not. And
yeah.
and that's and it's unfortunate that it's taken those situations to make people open their eyes.
And that's what it's done. That's what's happened by mothers speaking out, like Manny McKnight
It's
and
the
others.
mothers. It truly is. It's the mothers with the kids with epilepsy and
Uh,
all kinds
yeah.
of different afflictions where they're seizing and they got stints in their heads. These kids have no quality of life until they try cannabis. They go from non-verbal to verbal. In fact, Manny McKnight, like with Liam, like Liam has gone from night to day in the last probably 5 years that we've watched him because he was non-verbal. Now he's attending
Well, we're gonna, right. Well, right now we've got a guest on the schedule in an upcoming show that is in that situation.
okay.
Yeah.
A father and daughter situation.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to really get some good information at that time on with dealing with the children.
Yeah, and definitely, I've heard stories of people that are living in the States where they'll pick up and move to like Colorado where it's legal, just for their kids to get them out of seizures and stuff like that.
That's again, why prohibitions never worked, right?
Yeah.
Why, like I said, like legalization in Canada, regulation, whatever you want to call it, might not be perfect, but it's going to evolve, and it's actually made lives better for some people already. So, and that's how I look at it. Like nothing's perfect. No legislation in any country is perfect, but it makes it so that you as a patient now, if you really didn't want to have to deal with a doctor, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops like all the rest of us have had to fight for decades. Like I had to fly from Alberta to Ontario. Now, because of legalization, we don't have to, I can go for plants and I can go to a store. I don't have to jump through any hoops to go see a doctor and try and fight to get a license so that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, whereas now there's the clinics that are available out there where people can go.
Yeah.
I know for over the years where I was doing a lot of advocacy work, dealing with patients and helping them get signatures and that so they can get their licenses.
Yeah.
At that time there was no clinics at that time.
And that's the thing. Now there's clinics. The doctors aren't hiding anymore. Nurse practitioners are signing paperwork. They're not hiding because they're not in as much fear. I mean, to be fair, they're not really handing out 100 gram a day licensing.
No, not like
right. But they're still not saying no. Like even GPs here, they're starting to ask questions, and that's something that we always wanted to see. We wanted our doctors to see because patients like you, patients like Al, patients like me, we go and we tell them, well, we don't need that because we smoke cannabis, and they'll go, it can't be helpful. No, it really is. And how many times have you seen that look from your doctor when you say it's cannabis and the doctor goes,
my specialist, he agreed on the benefits, but he wouldn't sign my paperwork. I still had to go another year after that before we finally signed my paperwork. And that was one of the things he asked. Have you tried it yet? Did you find it help? No. How did it help you here? How did it help you there? And I told him. And then I said to him, have you ever signed me a prescription for an opiate drug?
Yeah.
And he said, no.
Well, that's the thing. You got to sign for an opioid. Like you go to you have to signature or whatever out here, right? If it's a triple script. I don't know. Like I said, I don't. It's cannabis and even that they're non-comparable. It's just not right.
It's So now, as far as the cannabis end of things, do you, when you're consuming it, some of us, like to just smoke it. Some people like to eat it.
I'm a big fan of the consumption, like gummies.
Gummies.
Yeah.
Gummies. Everybody likes the gummies, eh?
Yeah. Because when it kicks in and it lasts for like 3 hours, and then I can just go to bed.
Yeah, eh?
Got no stress.
So if you're growing your own, you like gummies, are you making your own gummies?
Haven't yet.
Haven't yet.
No.
You're gonna learn. Well, hey, Tamara,
I don't make gummies either.
Oh, really?
You know what? I don't.
She makes candies.
No.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I don't stay away from the gummies because they have a shelf life. They mold unless you use a whole pile of citric acid in them, and and then the citric acid kind of negates what the THC does in the candy. So a lot of people that are selling candy like the gummies, what they're actually doing is spraying it with tincture. They'll buy commercial candy and just spray it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Because you can't make it's like Jello, right? It's like
hard to.
So unless you keep it refrigerated, or like I said, put a whole crap load of citric acid in it or preservative in it, they mold.
Yeah, so its life expectancy isn't very
4
long.
days. 4 days.
So there
4
you go.
days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I do like the edibles, just like brownies, cookies, whatever.
Right.
So
Now, have you ever like you say you've only been growing for 2 years. Have you ever made like a butter or coconut oil?
Personally, I haven't.
We'll have to get together.
I've got friends that have. Me.
Because once I find once you make that, especially with the coconut oil, once you make that, you can turn that coconut oil into a lotion,
right?
Or you can infuse it in your food, or you turn it into a massage oil, right? There's so many things that you can do with it once you put it into the coconut,
right?
Oil,
yeah. I haven't done any coconut oil or butter or anything like that.
Oh well,
I'm really interested in starting.
Chocolate is probably the easiest way to get your medication in, because even if you see, this is the trick that I use, and this is I'm going to tell everybody. You can buy Belgian chocolate wherever, and you just use your keef.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really? And then you just mix that into it.
Yeah, you just mix that into it, and then you put it into molds, and that's the trick, really. Hash, just shredder,
Well, that sounds quick and easy.
Some people use a grinder with the keef catcher in it.
Yeah, I've got a keef.
Some people use a tray, right? And then you can do that.
That's all I do. I don't decarb it. I don't do anything with it. I just throw it right in it, because once it hits the hot chocolate, it activates anyways, because you're getting the heat on, like the warmth, and you'd let it sit for, I don't know.
Well, I always infuse my chocolate with the coconut oil. So I'm going to try that. I got some tips here.
You risk it, with putting the oil in or alcohol or anything, you risk it seizing, your chocolate seizing.
What do you mean?
How do you seize
chocolate?
It won't set up properly. Like it'll seize. It'll just kind of right? Like it'll just stop. Have you never had that problem before?
No, it all blends in, and then I put it in the molds and throw it in the fridge, and it all hardens.
Perfect.
The only dark chocolate you can do
I go to the chocolate factory in Campbellford.
Okay.
Right now, beside the chocolate factory is a store.
Right.
Chocolate store. So I go into the store there and buy the chocolate, just milk chocolate from there, and it will melt in your hand.
Yeah.
Without even having any of the coconut oil in it.
Yeah.
Once you get the coconut oil in it, it's better eat it quick, or
that's
your fingers,
And if you use the keef, you don't have the oil, so they set up better, and they don't do that.
Yeah.
Because the oil makes them greasier, right? Too, but I've just that's like I said, you don't need to use whatever way you're doing it is fine.
See, with the keef too, they'd probably be stronger.
Oh yeah.
Definitely gonna try that.
Wow, yeah.
Like I said, I just throw it in, because actually I weigh it out, because a gram of keef is, pretty potent. So you want to be careful on how much you put. Now you put 5 grams in mine.
Good thing I'm going to Campbellford tomorrow. I'll be able to grab myself
your trays that are out with all that stuff, and I'm thinking, oh man, that would make good chocolate. But like I said, any baking. That's what I use for. If I have that availability, I would take that over shatter or oil or anything from processed ever.
Would the chocolate get hot? Would the chocolate be warm enough in order to decarboxylate the? I don't know. I've never measured the temperature of chocolate.
120 degrees approximately, and you never want it to get above that, and you don't want your THC getting any hotter than about 250 anyway. So you got to keep it right in that area, and you don't need to leave it that long. You just have to give it a few stirs just to get it to activate and mold it. It doesn't I usually throw it right in halfway through. So I'm halfway through melting the chocolate, so there's still chunks in it, and that's when I'll throw the keef in and then start mixing it, and then let it sit till it's all melted. So that's giving it time to kind of work its way in, and then in the mold, into the fridge.
I'm so gonna try this.
You got the keef at home?
Oh,
we'll have
that's
to
fine.
we'll have to get together and have a chocolate party.
Yeah.
You know, but if he's new to growing too, because that's the thing with your plants too. Like you want to save all that, not
Yeah.
the fan leaves so much, but you want to save that so you can use it for baking and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Make
all
your own stuff.
your sugar leaf trimmings.
Yeah.
You keep them. You turn them into stuff. You know?
Wow.
But yeah, I'll after the show tonight, I will show you how to make the coconut oil
Okay.
or the butter, as well as obviously with Kif. There's no, it's just roll a joint with the Kif, right? To get that, so
Yeah.
it's that hard. But yeah, I'll show you afterwards.
Okay. Excellent.
How to do all that.
It's super easy. And that's like, for a lot of people that are patients that are kind of scared about baking and don't want to get into making the butter and having to infuse the oil, or even like making FICO because you're mixing, ISO and having to make a possibility of blowing yourself up. A lot of people are scared of it. So if you just use your Kif, you don't have to be scared of that.
Yeah.
And it's super easy, no process involved.
Do you guys have any experience with any of those machines, like the magical butter, the Evo, or stuff like that?
Yeah.
No.
I do.
Uh-huh.
I've got 2 of them.
Okay.
I will help you with that.
And or Tamara probably does it the old
I just do it
way.
old school. Yeah, I just use a double boiler.
Right, and the cheesecloth and stuff like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, the on the stove method, it does get you more smell in the air.
Right.
But no matter what, even after you open your magic butter machine or your crock pot, right? There's
fumes.
Smell's gonna escape.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So you're still gonna end up with some smell in your house.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't eliminate the smell.
Right.
I know in my early days I used to throw it outside. The crock pot outside. And just let it cook out there, and then the smell just
went away. Yeah. Actually, I used to have a friend that would just throw it out in the sun.
Yeah.
Like in a pan.
Winter time, I would put it inside not cooler, but like a Rubbermaid tub.
Okay.
And wrap blankets around the crock pot.
Okay.
And let it sit outside.
Right.
Because it was just
whatever works.
It's if I live by myself, it's one thing. But I had the family with me, right? Wife, kids, all that stuff. And I'm thinking of them too. It's that not everybody wants to smell the smell of cannabis all the time.
Oh, Lee.
Piper.
Yeah, she's mad because I took her over there.
Oh.
So she's yelling at me.
Right. So we'll have to get you into all that.
Yeah, I've seen some of your pressing videos that you posted.
Just recently, the recent one
with the calf, and then you pressed it or whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah. Made rosin with it.
Yeah,
that's upstairs.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I'm like, oh.
There's all kinds of tricks he can show you. That's the whole point of this. The whole point of the show is patients, educating patients, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got one of the experts sitting right beside you that he can educate you on all kinds of stuff. He's got decades under his belt. You got lucky.
With the Kif, okay, when you make the rosin, squishing it, okay, it comes out darker.
Right.
It's it's older, and even though you're using a screen, there's probably still some plant material that gets through there,
right?
But the so it comes out a little bit darker, and it doesn't have that nice golden color or of a rosin or a lighter color, and it doesn't quite have the flavor as rosin, but as the flower end of things, but it still gives you
it
works,
yeah,
right. And it still tastes better than shitty weed.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't taste shitty or anything.
Well, that goes back to one of the conversations that you and I had, a little while ago when we first started talking.
Yeah.
Was the stuff that I was growing, I found it was a little bit harsher to smoke. Right? Like just the taste of it was a little bit harsher.
Yeah.
That could be. Did you flush for 2 weeks? Were you like?
I didn't even add any nutrients really.
Okay.
That flavor's in the ground.
It could be the way you're curing too. Like if you don't let it dry out and then kind of hydrate, it'll get a really harsh flavor to it.
Rehydrate. What do you mean?
Put it in a bag. Like I
Okay.
already
Sure.
split mine.
I've been putting it in jars.
Yeah, I use jars
Well,
too.
this is before that process. So you hang it, you trim it, and then you leave it on the branches, and then you dry it out. So it's like not the branches aren't snapping, but the buds are starting to get a little crispy on the outside. And you take it and you wrap it in a garbage bag. This is my method anyway. And then you let it get rehydrated again, and then you hang it again, trim it, and put it in your jars.
You'll find that everybody has a method.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether wrong or have a general idea. And the same with growing. Everybody has their own method.
Yeah.
But everything there's a lot of basics in there, and you find that works best with you.
What do you do, Al? Do you do the same type of crew, or do
I actually trim mine right away when it's still alive. I don't hang it. I don't have any.
That's what I did last year.
I don't have any hanging space, so I've always trimmed it right away and then put it onto dry racks to dry. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Great time.
Sorry, go on.
All right, no problem. I just got to jump in there. I just do that. It's one of those things that you have to do sometimes. But do you want to finish that thought?
I already forgot it.
Okay, all right.
That's a true stoner.
All right, after break, we go pay some bills. When we return, Tamara and I will continue our discussion with our guest, Adam Doda. You're watching the Pace Radio Show here on the Pace Radio Network's YouTube channel, as well as our Facebook pages.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor? If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, welcome back and thanks for tuning into the program. We are live and you're watching us on our YouTube channel or on Facebook. Today in the program, we are joined by someone local to me, Adam Doda. Thanks, Adam, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
As well as Tamara is here. As we found, Adam uses cannabis medicinally for MS.
Correct.
Right? And so you're new to this.
Yeah.
You've grown for 2 years, right? Yeah, exactly. Now, what I also wanted to find out was to talk to you about, legalization.
Okay.
All right. Now, with legalization, is anything you notice any change, benefits to yourself?
Well, benefits to myself. I love being able to drive to the other towns bordering us and just picking something up, as opposed to ordering offline through the suppliers and stuff like that, and having to wait
Now,
2-3 days.
why are you driving to the other towns to pick up cannabis?
Because unfortunately, our town has opted out of it.
I'll do that as well. Now, Tamara, have you ever heard anybody say anything about that before?
Yeah. Al's been complaining about that, and I don't blame him. I'd be complaining about that. And then, you try, you think you might be getting a little farther ahead, and then they just blow off the motion. Yeah. I have no words. I can't believe that any town would absolutely do that. Like, I just can't. I got 1-2 blocks, and then there's another 2 blocks, and then there's another 1-2 blocks away from there. Like,
it'd be so nice to have a store in town where you could just go to that you can pick up whatever.
See,
can you not lobby your government? Like, can you guys, as patients, not lobby them to try and open this again? Like, could you?
Yeah, yes, we can. This is how I met Adam. Was lobbying, dealing with our local council. Adam and I both were watching because of COVID. They weren't allowing in-person council meetings.
Right.
So Adam and I had both watched it on Facebook through the Zoom video that was broadcasted out, and we didn't know each other or anything. But Adam commented on that on the show, on their video, about them not like your comment had to do with where was the discussion. Like, there was an hour and 15-minute presentation by a delegation, and then they voted on it in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, and it went down really quick, and through that whole time, it didn't seem like all the people that voted against it didn't seem like they were paying attention at all. They just all were kind of looking wherever and stuff like that, and it seemed like they were spaced out.
So he commented on the post on Facebook as well as myself, and then both of our quotes ended up in a local paper, a digital paper at Belleville. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was
Awesome.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was owned by Torstar, and now it's down. They've taken it down. It was one of the cutbacks. But there was an article in this Belleville digital online paper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you were included in it, but unfortunately, so he was in that as well. So then, recently, council had it come before them again. There was a motion in order to rescind those 2 previous votes because they voted twice, not once, but twice, to opt out. And so I got a hold of Adam and I said, "Hey, you know how we were disappointed we didn't get to speak last time? Let's take this opportunity and let's speak now before council." So he just jumped right into it. Yeah, let's do this. So I told you what I had to do as far as set things up, who to get a hold of, and Adam went ahead and did all that, arranged everything, and spoke to council.
And I just spoke to tell my story so that they have more of an insight, into somebody, that uses it medically.
Well, yeah, that it's hard for you to have to travel that far 2 towns over for you to get your medicine.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't have to travel that far. And again, again, they're going to say, well, you can get it in the mail. I'll say, well, no, some days I can't wait. Like, it's not up to them to decide how you plan your medicine. You need it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now, as far as it's come up 3 times now, and it hasn't gotten through because the last one, the councillor pulled the motion, so there was
resended her resend.
Right. So there was no vote on it. Okay, so they've only actually voted twice. Now, is it dead? No. What needs to be done is one of the other 2 councillors who voted no would have to bring a motion forward.
Right.
Now, the other councillor polar motion because of stories around town of trying to do it for political gain.
But the thing that I don't understand, sorry for cutting you off, is anything that they do is for political gain.
Well, yeah.
Right? So
and you know, there's political gain and there's gain in the community, and this would have been the same thing with the cannabis stores. So like what the next thing that comes before council, is that political gain? You know, it might not be for anything related to cannabis.
Yeah, like what's the difference between that business and any other business?
Yeah.
You know, like what does it matter whether it's a hair salon or a cannabis?
So now one of the other councillors has to bring it forward in order to do that. And the fact that it's been to council so many times, there's a good chance that they would turn around and say, we've already spoken on this matter. We're not going to discuss it any further.
So you need to get rid of that city council.
So the next, so there's that opportunity, or the next local council, and that would be up for the community, us that are here in the community, to speak up, more people to speak up and ask the questions to the people who come knocking at your door. Where do you stand on the cannabis retail issue on the stores? Yeah. Ask the questions in the all candidate meetings, and it's just one simple question.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
And I wouldn't doubt if cannabis is an issue in town because of the stores. It's been out there for 4 years now since they did it, as well as a certain place here in town that a lot of people have concerns about.
Do you think you could get a petition going, or do you have?
Yeah, I think there could be a petition, or you could work on trying to get maybe a referendum.
Really,
yeah, petition wouldn't hold them to it, right?
No, what my thing is to find out how many people actually know what the city council is doing, because a lot of people just might not pay attention.
They don't,
right?
Because from when I do my posts in the local groups, just from some of the comments, some people haven't followed the issue obviously as close as I have. Yeah,
right.
I've been involved in 4 meetings, so
I know it's like a road issue here. Like nobody's paying attention. Next thing you know, the city's council's passing a $21,000 grant to do some roads, and everybody's going, "What the hell?" Because nobody's paying attention, right?
Exactly.
And I'm guilty of that. I don't pay attention to it. It took all to say, "Hey, they're doing this again. Do you want to get in on it?" I'm like, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not everybody's thing to follow some stuff.
No, well, it's not. It really isn't, and it's especially. Not everybody follows cannabis, or it's their medicine, but they're 24/7 around this house.
Right. Again, a lot of people use cannabis and don't have a clue that there's a cannabis community, and they've been smoking cannabis for years. They see Tommy Chong as cannabis kind of thing. We're Canadians, right? Of course we've got. But
Canadian, yeah. I've never met. I don't think I've never met him in person, but I do have a picture with him standing beside a guy wearing a Pace Radio Network shirt. Yeah,
I met him in person, and I've got pictures. Of him. Yep.
I have to get him on the show.
I could get a whole. You know what? I could get I could probably get his daughter on the show. Precious.
Right. You just never know.
Tamara, it's got to be your guest.
Oh, we
in-house guest too.
Yeah, everything's equal around here. We help each other out.
yeah, exactly. So, have you found that maybe with legalization in the stores, have you found that maybe you've had, whether you go into a legal store or whether you drive to, because we're in the middle of 2 great big reserves that have multiple stores in them. Like we're talking, 30 to 40 in each reserve.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. Have you found, because even with legalization, they've exploded, and I look at them as having their own. They're just we have our federal legalization. Yeah. We have our First Nations, Aboriginal, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Market, and then we have our illicit market. Mm-hmm. So we have. I look at it.
They call themselves the legacy.
The legacy market. Yeah. So have you found with the stores, whether you're going to reserves or an OCS store, you've had a choice of maybe different things? Like for myself, beverages, cannabis beverages.
Yes.
Like, but yourself, have you found things that
you haven't had before?
Yeah,
like,
it gives you an opportunity to try something else.
Yeah, I've had cannabis beverages.
That's just my phone.
Sorry.
I'll phone her back. It's fine.
There you go.
Beverages, and I like the edibles, whether it's cookies or gummies or hard candies. I've had those too. Gotten some of them off the reservation, and
If you have, this might be a TMI question,
but shoot, go,
but
let her rip.
Well, this is all because last week I went.
Was that the suppositories that you had in the front seat of your car?
Yeah, I went and picked up some suppositories.
Oh,
yeah, they sell recreational suppositories.
Didn't even know something like that existed.
Right, but I mean, what's recreational? About suppositories, like.
So it's like CBD stuff.
Yes.
Right, like I'm just thinking about that, going, oh my goodness. But then again, people are strange.
I had seen some announcements in the news, about them, and then I thought, really? So then I just sort of put it off the back burner, and then I was in a meeting recently, and we got talking about other ways of consuming cannabis, and we talked about the stores. Our stores here in Canada are recreational stores. We don't have any medical stores. We have one. But as far as all these thousands of stores across, we have one medical store. It's in Ottawa.
It's still the same product. It's you can buy
the same product.
Yeah.
But they have a license to do.
Right.
Yeah.
They just call it medical.
So we have all these stores. So the government's always told us recreational. So I said to people in the meeting that we can now get suppositories, recreational suppositories at our stores, and they just went like, what? Sort of the same reaction.
That's kind of the reaction I'm having. I've never heard of a suppository before.
But
I'm not saying I'm against it. I've never heard of that.
I know, it's ridiculous. Same with topicals.
Yeah, like you don't even get high on.
Yeah, the topicals was a new one for me.
Yeah. So the you can buy suppositories now at a recreational store, and the cannabis suppositories.
And do they work? Like, what are they for? Is it take away pain, or
you can use them for pain? People with Crohn's, colitis, people with cancer.
Okay.
When you're for example, people who are taking fecal.
Okay.
A lot of people call it RSO. Others call it fecal, which is fully extracted cannabis oil.
Okay.
And administered under the tongue.
Right.
Because it's one of the quickest ways into your system.
Yeah.
Well, one of the quickest ways is up through your butt.
Right.
All right. So by putting the suppository into your you're going to absorb that medicine. And not only do you absorb the medicine, but the amount that you can absorb is much greater.
Oh. Never even thought of that.
Yeah.
And it'll bypass the liver too, right?
Correct. You're not going to get that high. You can feel better.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can, so now you can go to the store, go to Mayock, maybe Havelock, pick up a couple beers, tokes, and suppositories to wash arguing with.
Like, all right.
I don't think Tamara likes.
Sounds like a real good time. Yeah. Not.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh shit.
That's the thing. Like, you have to wonder, but the people are supply and demand.
Yeah.
Somebody must have asked for them.
Right.
Somebody must have come in and gave one of them smarty pantses the idea to bring them in. So some smarty pants did.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Adam and I got more things in similar than cannabis. There's other things. My son is only like a year younger than Adam. Ooh, my son is named Adam.
Right? Yeah.
Now we also enjoy cars.
Yes, very
automobiles.
much so.
Very much so. Like
I'm very much a gearhead.
Adam can tell you, like right here beside us is my license plate frame from a car that I had in the 1980s.
Yeah, from an old Vega, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, Vega. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that had a Vega. Exactly. Now we see that comment from Deb on the screen. Yeah, I bet those are low dose edibles from the store.
No, the suppository. She said.
Oh, suppository.
Probably as low dose as the edible.
Yes, Deb.
What are the milligrams on those? So like the maximum is 10 milligrams for any edible. Like, so what you got? How many were in that? 10?
10.
So divide that by
10 milligrams. Yeah.
Like 0.05 milligrams.
And just I'll talk to Deb through the screen here. And yourself, the suppositories, I actually took them and put them in some warm water to see how they dissolved. And it took like about half an hour. Like, I don't know how long suppositories take.
So you have to have the suppository in for half an hour?
It's in you until it dissolves and then absorbs into your system.
Okay.
Right? So there's nothing to take out.
Right. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
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 Not something that, you want to make. Yeah. It's not a topic.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
a whole show.
Deb saying, wow, I'm going to say that's probably to those 10 milligrams.
Yeah.
Well,
you break that down and it's like 0.05 milligrams per, unit. That's not going to do anything for anybody.
There was 5 in the package. People commented to the picture online. They thought it looked like a beer can.
It looked like a coffee cup.
Really? It was that big?
No, not the suppository. No, the packaging, not the suppository.
Yeah, no, they were much smaller.
Like I said, I had an open mind, but I just thought, yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, Deb. Why bother? Like, what's the point when you're getting such a low dose? You'd have to use the whole 5 of them, and then you'd have so much oil and stuff that you'd have to run through the next 6 weeks.
What we found when we had it dissolve was that there was still something floating in the water afterwards.
Like what?
Like there was.
Was it oil or?
You could stir it up.
Is it like an oil type of substance?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking that maybe it might have been like the wax, like a wax coating. We found it
because oil and water will separate, right? And if it is wax, it'll float to the top, and it might even go hard because it's wax. Beeswax will do that too.
I think
beeswax will ball up, kind of thing, in water, cold water.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that's what that was floating in there. Was wax. Now we also took one from the indigenous market.
Okay.
And threw it in some warm water, a different container, and it dissolved a lot quicker, and it was twice the size.
Of a beer can.
and it stayed dissolved.
Right.
And the water stayed cloudy.
And there's probably just straight coconut oil.
Yeah, but there was nothing floating in it.
Right.
Like pulp looking things. So that's why I described what I saw. It was like pulp, but it was probably like little pieces of wax. So
yeah.
But yeah, recreational stores. There you go. You can.
Didn't even know.
There you go. Hey, yeah.
Well,
come over next week for.
I thought that'd be something that'd be recreational. That's all.
Yeah.
But who am I?
Cars. Before we go, we're gonna talk cars. What do you like? Because we both like cars.
Yeah, I believe it, but you probably won't like this. I'm a big Honda person.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit younger, right?
Yeah.
So, and I got into it like right when before it became popular, even the Hondas. All driving around with those big loud mufflers, and big tuned exhaust and stuff like that.
Apple juice cans.
Yeah, that's what.
Lawnmowers, yeah.
Yeah. We had a guy that lived behind us here. I could hear him accelerating from the lights downtown.
Yeah, there's no need. There's no need to hear it in cars like that.
That's what he
unless it's got like a big engine
he was
or a
a
turbocharger or something.
And
like
he was
that.
a big Honda fan. Yeah. See, where I was a muscle car guy.
Yeah.
I had the V8 Vega, under the hood. Car came with a 4-cylinder, so I put a V8 in it.
350.
Put a 350, and then I put a 327. I went through.
Okay.
Yeah, I went through 5 other motors.
Oh wow, you're a busy boy.
Yeah, I was, and switched out the rear end, put an old Dart rear end.
Oh, okay.
In it with 323 Posi.
Yeah.
And had my had a header and cam and stuff in it, and then I put Monza Spider springs in the front end.
Okay.
For the weight.
Right.
Yeah, and I had a fiberglass hood.
Did you drag race it?
Yeah, I took it down to Katy like that.
Yeah, and what did the run time was?
I ran 12s.
That's fast.
Ran 12s with my street car. I was, and that was with the 13-inch street tires.
Yeah.
Now I had 323 rear gears with a little bit smaller tires, so that helped my gear ratio a little.
Right.
But I was just running street tires on, so I was pretty happy with that turnout. But I'll tell you, it's a lot different going down there and drag racing versus doing it, the other way.
I like it. Well, I grew up as a teenager with drag racing, but like I said, we're drag racing Hondas at the time. And my brother, the family thing was we were doing it for my brother's car, and it was a CRX, a swapped motor.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a factory motor, but it was swapped. And he ran 14.3 was his best time.
14.3
in a Honda.
In a Honda,
cylinder.
yeah, exactly. Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're going from 20 seconds to that's a big jump.
For sure.
In drag racing, 0.1, 0.2 of a second means so much. And distance wise.
And I'm a big track person, like a circuit track.
Yeah.
So I've been to Arizona and done gone to like Bob Honor at school, and gone to Shannonville.
Yeah.
Did some racing there. The in-law school at what's the other racetrack? The big one.
Down
Bowmanville,
this Canadian Tire, which used to be something else.
I can't remember what it's called for the life of me right now.
Now it's Canadian Tire.
Yeah. Canadian Tire Raceway or something.
Yeah, and they had the Grand Prix races.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so we like cars. Burning up rubber.
My husband loves cars too. My best car was probably my Mustang when I bought that new and set. What was it, 1988? But then I just sold I had a Dodge Charger, a 19. It was an 08 Dodge Charger too, with glass exhaust and stuff on it too. So I like that too. Now I got this Ford. So
nice.
Yeah, there were some really nice cars. I had a friend that had a 440 Duster, 2.4 ton ram on it. We went down to Cayuga together to race down there.
My uncles did stock car racing and stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I used to Camaro all the time though. Yeah,
back it was 8 miles to the gallon. I hate to get that
you don't want that now.
no, but around town,
how much is gas out there right now?
$1.60. Yeah.
$1.70.
$1.70 at the Esso. Probably
it's $1.82.9 here.
$1.82.9.
And I'm not even at the coast. I'm like right next door to Alberta, just over the Alberta border, and I'm at $1.82.9.
Oh
wow.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That's crazy.
Ouch.
Right.
Yeah, sure is. All righty. Well, I see it's the bottom of the hour.
Okay. It is.
Yeah, I'm looking at this clock. You see what time that one says?
Oh yeah.
That one says 4:20.
Oh my God. I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, it's not the bottom of the hour yet. The clock's only right twice a day.
That's right. Ever.
It's right. Yeah.
That's the best way to get people. It's like it's 4:20 all the time.
Yeah. The clock's not completely dead. It's right for 2 minutes a day.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's all that matters. It's 2 minutes a day.
Yes, that's right. Well, we discussed shout outs. Did you guys earlier? Did you think of anything?
No, other than my wife, my kids, my family.
There you go. There you go.
That's,
That's right. Thanks for the support.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate all the testimonials because it helps other people to come forward to talk
That's
about
right.
how that the cannabis helps them too. So
Yeah, and
having
I've
people
learned a
that,
lot today too.
yeah, like I
Yeah,
said, that helps other people want to come forward too and talk about their stories.
exactly. Because as patients share their stories, other people learn from them.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Most
And
definitely.
there could be somebody else there with MS who, is thinking about cannabis.
Maybe I can try this type thing. Maybe this works for me.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
they hear what you've done, and it's how it grows. People's voices get louder.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's right. All right, Tamara, have you got a shout out?
No, except that I'm gonna go back and make pierogies. So
I thought you'd throw a shout out.
Thank you for doing that, by the way. It's very,
oh,
very
it's our pleasure. Like I said, and we've got.
Throw a shout out to the crew at the pierogi booth.
Oh yeah, well, all my volunteers that have been doing that. Melby Lee, she's a lady came in from Skookumchuck and Barb's Bakery, Auntie Barb's Bakery here in town. She's been absolutely fabulous. My partner Kim. There's the whole Ukrainian lady crew, which was Helena and Lana and their families, and then there's like a whole other crew of politicians and all this kind of experts on the other side of things too that are all working really hard in Cranbrook to try and bring families here. So
That's right. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Reefer Reporters. Glenn and I will be bringing everybody the news, see what's on topic for tomorrow.
I can do grassroots tomorrow if you have time for that, I think.
Grassroots, yes. I believe I do. I
think we should probably get
I
that.
think-
We're
Actually,
gonna run it a
I believe I have it on my to-do list.
Do you have it on your to-do list? Okay, well, we'll to-do
That's
that
right.
tomorrow. That sounds
Yes.
good. All right.
Back-to-back programming. We'll start at 10 o'clock with the Reefer Reporters, and following that at 11:30 comes Grassroots Advocate.
Yeah, and I'll be here to see you back then tomorrow morning.
That's right, exactly. Other than that, thank you to our sponsors, BMA Hydroponics at bmahydroponics.com.
Absolutely.
Legacy, it's
I'm
right.
gonna be going there soon too.
Yeah, well,
Good smell.
Kevin Ross are the best. They'll help you out. They are the best. You go and see them for sure.
I'll fill you in when we get fill you in on how to make the oil and the butter.
Perfect.
All right. Legacy420.com, drbuckscts.com, as well as the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. Big thank you to our guest, Adam Doda. Thanks for coming out and doing this tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
It was your first time ever
Nice
doing
to meet
it.
both of you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not so hard, is it?
No. Time went by so fast. And I'm sure everybody says that.
It does.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
And the same thing, like you said to me. Well, I don't really have, I don't have much of a story.
No, because I think of my story, it could be like 3, 4, 5 minutes tops.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
Here we are. We're running overtime now.
Okay.
All right, you guys take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right. Thanks, Tamara. And thanks for everybody for tuning into the program.
Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
And we'll talk to you all next week. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.